Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Experiment Podcast. I'm your host, Jade Theriault. This is a space where we give soul to the logical and the practical, and we give feet and legs and grounding to the magical, the mystical, and the woo-woo. This podcast, this platform, is a place where I document my live experiment with life. I believe that life, our time here on earth, is a lab, and we get to play here. We get to experiment with healing and growth and becoming. And this podcast is just that. It is a documentation of my experiment with healing and becoming the best version of myself. The most ironic part, maybe ironic, of this podcast and this journey that I have been on is that everything I have talked about up to this point has been unconsciously, I think, in my life, preparing me for this very moment. I have talked about identity death and nervous system repair. I've talked about meeting our basic needs as a form of healing and repair, and the importance of bottom-up healing for doing deep healing trauma work. I would like to say, I am a very self-aware person. I tend to, most times, not all times, know what is happening in my body, and I can typically pinpoint the trigger, the thing, the reason why I am having the sensations or feelings I'm having in my body. I really do believe that I know my body very, very well, and I have this very weird, almost unbelievable connection with God, the universe, spirit, source, whatever you want to call him or her, them. I think the wise, in touch part of me has always known that the things that I'm transmitting here, the topics that I'm discussing, are being applied in my life because I am actively exploring these concepts and applying them to my life. But I am currently in a moment where everything I've talked about is being tested in real time in my life. I'm not ready to go into details, and I don't know if I ever will be, but I am going through a breakup again. And if you know me, if you know this journey of this relationship that I've been in, it's been 6 years, and it has been an absolute roller coaster. Very high, beautiful moments. We created our daughter together, and very, very low, hard moments. And this last year was our giving it one last shot and seeing if we were both the versions of ourselves that we needed to be in order for this relationship dynamic to work. And I've been feeling the bubbling for months now and have tried to do what I could to make it work. But something that this last year has taught me is that I have a very specific intention with relationships, especially romantic partnerships. I want something very specific, and the iteration of that doesn't matter so much, but the feeling that I do expect out of a relationship, just basic things like safety and honesty and transparency, my values that I bring forward into a relationship, are non-negotiable. And I am a very direct person. And when someone is in a partnership with me and the values are not being mutually honored, I take issue. The biggest, most important thing I want and feel comfortable saying here is that fundamentally, for the last 6 years, me and my partner, ex-partner, were trying to make ourselves into versions of ourselves that didn't blend. We are so fundamentally different down to our values. And I wanted so deeply, and I was blinded by that desire to be loved by him and to not be abandoned by him. And also to have a whole, traditionally, societally defined whole family unit. Mom, dad, daughter, maybe more kids. And it didn't work. But astrologically, there are so many things happening that make sense about this. As you've heard, I'm going through my Saturn return, and Saturn likes to rip away things that are not meant to be within our lives. Whenever we are going through a Saturn return, we are shedding things, people, relationships, jobs, anything, beliefs that do not serve who we are becoming on the other side of the Saturn return, which is when we're like 30 and a little bit later. And funny enough, I didn't realize it at the time. We broke up the same day that Uranus transitioned into Gemini. And there are just a lot of synchronicities that are coming to light about the timing of this, about the spiritual side of this that is so important and I do believe needs to be named. On the flip side of that, this breakup is and has been a catalyst for me. I have been actively grieving parts of myself, identities, belief systems, patterns, just so many things about myself quietly and slowly over the last year. And this feels like a moment where the universe is really saying, either you step up now or you're going to get left behind. This is your chance to show up for yourself, to show up for your highest self, to step into her and to become her, to embody her, to integrate her. And when we do that, when we do the hard thing, when we step through that threshold over and over again in every decision that we make while we're in this transition phase, we do become her and everything else falls away. I've hit a point in my life where the only option I have forward is to change, not out of desperation, but completely and totally out of alignment. I have to change the programming within myself to call in and be able to hold the life that is on the other side of this. If I don't do the hard work now, either I will have to do it later, or I will never have the energetic capacity to be and live the life I so deeply long and yearn and ache for. And I want that life. I want to prove to myself that this desire for deep and yummy and big romantic love is real. And my first step in doing that is by changing the very ways I show up and love myself. I want to and have to prove to myself that all of that yumminess, all of that sweetness, all of that authentic, vulnerable passion and joy is absolutely within my fingertips. And this current version of me, I'm almost on the precipice. I'm in this like liminal space where parts of me believe that that love, that joy, that passion is real and exists, and I have access to it. But other parts of me don't believe that. Those are the patterns, the conditioning, the programming, the limiting beliefs. And when I say I want to change, that's what I mean. I want to change those parts of me. Am I going to love them through it? Absolutely. Am I going to give those parts grace and compassion? Without a doubt. The highest aligned version of me doesn't hold space for those energies. And this version of me doesn't want to either anymore. You know, there are conflicting teachings, conflicting beliefs, and I want to hold space for both. I want to hold space for the truth that you are whole. You are perfect as you are. But the flip side of that is your patterning, your limiting beliefs, your conditioning, your programming, your nervous system that has been conditioned to only survive and not to thrive. These parts of you are limiting you. And these are the parts of ourselves that are earthly, that are human, that it is our divine right. And it is part, I believe, of our purpose to experiment with and to heal. That version of you, these tangible, almost the trauma, the nervous system, the limiting beliefs, like that creates almost this like default self, this version of us that lives on autopilot. And until we build the conscious awareness around her, we are going to struggle to heal her and to change her. I also want to say that version of you, that default version of you, is so brilliant. She has kept you alive. She has helped you survive up until this point. But if your default self is anything like mine, she's probably really tired. And she's probably really ready to operate, to upgrade her programming. It's like a computer. Outdated systems run slow and they aren't efficient and they don't produce the things we want them to produce in the ways we want them to. That's why new technology is always coming out. Our systems are similar in that way. We have to be consistently upgrading and making sure that all of our vital little buttons and things are online and that they aren't stuck in survival patterns, because life, especially life here on earth, we have access to so much beauty and so much love and so much joy. But when we live from a state of survival, it's really hard, if not impossible, to see that and to feel that. I want to take a moment and say that I'm in this phase of my life where I'm very much re-romanticizing my life. I am re-finding joy. But the flip side of that, and the very hard truth that absolutely needs to be named, is transformation is not always pretty. Transformation is awkward, it's uncertain, and it can feel so, so tender. But it's also very practical. And me, the way I operate, love when something is practical. Part of how this is practical is by how we apply it into our lives. It's by making conscious efforts to stop saying whatever it is that will keep the peace and actually say the honest truth. I'm not encouraging you to go and be brutal and mean to anyone, but tell the truth. Don't avoid conflict. You can stop ghosting yourself and start actually tracking and learning your patterns. That is the first step to unlearning anything, is first learning the system. You learn how to interrupt the spiraling, and you can start tapping or meditating or using any tool in the toolbox that works for you. You stop waiting to be chosen and instead choose yourself, even in the smallest, most micro ways. Change is more than just a buzzword. It's more than just a vibe. It's a decision you make every single moment. And every decision you make that is different than the current version of you would make, you are getting one step closer to being a higher, more refined, more powerful, more badass version of yourself. I've been following Joe Dispenza for years now. And it wasn't until a couple of months ago, and having read 3 of his books, that somehow, like a few weeks ago, it just like clicked in my head. Like I had been thinking about it for years now, just like, I get what Joe Dispenza is teaching, but something isn't clicking. Like it's just not, I'm missing something. I'm missing like one piece of information. And over the last few weeks of listening to some of Joe's stuff and just kind of studying it just a little bit deeper, I realized that Joe Dispenza, and this is, I guess, my interpretation of it and what clicks in my head, Joe Dispenza is teaching the science of becoming someone new. His core teaching is that your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors create your personal reality. Most of us live on a loop. We wake up, we feel the same feelings, think the same thoughts, and just repeat it over and over and over again every single day. Over time, these loops form neurological wiring like grooves on a record player. That's why this whole concept of like, well, just think positive doesn't work. Your body physiologically is literally memorized in the past. So how do you change? 1, you interrupt the loop. You stop giving energy to the thoughts and emotions that have created your current reality. 2, you rehearse a new identity. Visualize and emotionally embody the version of you that you want to be, even before it's real, even before you fully believe it. 3, choose differently. Behavior is the almost first and last step of the healing loop. Every single time you make a different choice and everything turns out okay or better than okay, you are signaling to your nervous system that you are safe and it's okay to evolve into someone new. As I've said this before in previous episodes, our nervous system does not care about becoming someone new. Our nervous system cares about our safety, and it's our nervous system's defined perception of safety, which isn't always true to real life. Our nervous system likes familiarity, even if that familiarity is damaging or hurtful or painful. Because it's familiar, our nervous systems can predict what will happen and what emotions will arise or what sensations will arise, and can then prepare for it, can brace itself, can brace our bodies for it. So it keeps us in this loop. If anxiety is familiar, peace feels unsafe. If chaos is familiar, calm feels boring. If unworthiness is familiar, love feels threatening. This is biology. It's not a weakness. The good news is you get to recondition your nervous system to know peace, to know safety. I've been doing this personal development / spiritual work for a really long time now, I would like to say. And I am fully aware that it's not only up from here. I am going to have to walk into the deepest, darkest parts of myself in this grief, in this pain, in this loss, and really look at her and hold her and hold her hand while we remove her or take those parts out or rewire those parts. I'm fully aware that there is so much pain in this process. I mean, I'm not even a full week in, and it's been an up and down. Like, there are days and moments where I feel solid and confident in this decision. And there are other days where I'm sad and I miss him. And the wounded parts of me, the abandoned parts of me, wish he would just come show up at my door and fight for me. But every second is a reminder that this is the right choice for me. Every step forward I take, I am reminded of my own strength, and I have to trust myself here. I have to respect myself enough to know that even if everything in our relationship was good and not hurtful, the very basic things that I deeply desire out of a relationship were not values of his. And that's okay. He's not wrong for that, and I'm not wrong for that. But at the very most basic layer of this, if that's the only reason we ended, that is enough of a reason. But because I know that there are hard moments, and because I do feel the heartbreak and I do feel sad, and I'm now having to share custody of my daughter and figure all of that out, it's all this change and uncertainty. I'm tightening up the way that I show up in my life. And that looks like being more active in my body, being more active and more present in my every single day moments. It's truly, genuinely, deeply a practice for me. I've been using EFT to move emotions and beliefs out of my body so that I don't get caught in too deep of a spiral. I'm saying no when I really mean no. And I'm saying yes when I really mean yes. I'm letting silence speak where I used to over-explain and beg and try to fill it. I'm tracking what choices feel the most aligned versus what might feel compulsive from a wounded part of me. Literally, my mantra is, what would my highest self do in this moment? WWMHD. What would my highest self do? And what I'm finding is when I stop and I ask myself that, I'm automatically grounded and redirected. And sometimes when I've asked myself that, I'm like, what would my highest self do? And sometimes the answer is, she would sit here on the floor in the fetal position and cry her fucking eyes out. And then I do that. And I trust that. Other times it's, what would my highest self do? And it's go to the gym, go sit in a cold plunge and be so uncomfortable by the cold that I remind myself of the resilience that I have, of the strength I have in uncomfortable situations. I am building my tolerance for discomfort because this discomfort I'm feeling, albeit is huge and massive and feels all consuming, I do also know that it's temporary. And the more that I change, the more that I become someone new, the more that I become a version of myself that would never even entertain the idea of being in a dynamic like this, the less it hurts. I know and trust that there is something better for me out there. And the more I feel connected to myself and feel that my own love for myself is enough. Most women don't change. Not because we don't want to, but because genuinely, truly, we don't know how, and we don't have the support systems to change. I mean, hell, it's taken me 6 years to actually realize that what needs to happen for me is not more healing work, which, yeah, more healing work, but like fundamentally, I need to become a new person. It's easy to get caught in reading the quotes and crying at a podcast or posting about the shifts and not integrating anything and not actually letting yourself process and feel and release. We have got to challenge ourselves. We have got to remember who we are and all of the goodness and magic just sitting in our bones. I was listening to a podcast earlier, the Almost 30 podcast, and it was the one about Mary Magdalene, and Je t'aime, I think was her name, said a quote that I was just like, oh, yeah, duh. And it was, I want to say it was, you are of this earth, but you are not from this earth. And I was just like, duh, my soul signed a little contract and said, let's go to earth, learn these lessons, and then when I die, do whatever happens. And I'm remembering that I signed up for this. My soul did. And the only way out of this is through it. And I'm not going to avoid it. I'm going to face it head on. I'm going to wring this moment, this experience out, every lesson that it could possibly teach me, face it head on, and change who I am. This episode, just like every episode, is not me screaming from the mountaintops. This is me so deeply in and on the climb beside you. But I'm in it, and I'm doing it, and I'm taking steps every single day. The only thing required of you in this experiment is make the choices she would make, and then make them again tomorrow and the day after that. And if you need support, reach out to me. I've got you. Thank you for showing up today, and I hope you leave feeling reminded of your worth and your power, and that you have every capacity to change your life if you want to. It's up to you to do that, though. No one else can do it for you.